I am Pink, and basically, we are going to talk about something important. How is Afghanistan after the first anniversary of US withdrawal? On the morning of August 15, 2021, Ross L. Wilson, the acting ambassador at the US Embassy in Kabul, received a dire security update from American military commanders. Gunfire was erupting around the Afghan capital as Taliban fighters closed in, and local security forces had abandoned their posts. At the same time, the Taliban were expected to storm prisons in the area and release thousands of inmates, creating a potential surge of extremists and other criminals headed to Kabul. It was the last of a steady drumbeat of warnings over the previous month as the Taliban gained strength across Afghanistan. What does Afghanistan look like after 1 year of Taliban rule? More than 81,000 Afghans have now been brought to the US since the Taliban took control of Kabul a year ago. Thousands of other Afghans remained in limbo in third countries such as Qatar and UAE, awaiting resettlement in the US. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. What are the other plights Afghanistan is plagued with? The Afghan government collapsed, and the Taliban took control over the capital city, Kabul. Within an hour of the announcement, everything in the city shut down. Since 1980, Afghanistan has witnessed numerous leadership changes. However, as the American forces began to leave and the president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, fled, the country entered into another phase of worsening human rights situation. So how is Afghanistan a year later? Let's have a look. Reflections on the US withdrawal. The next day, the US Army went aloof. The Taliban had entered the city and taken control of all the important landmarks, including standing guard outside the homes of former President Hamid Karzai and former CEO Dr. Abdullah, who had chosen to stay in the city. The city seemed to have traveled back in time by 20 years. The dress code of both men and women had changed. Almost all of the men were now dressed in salwar kameez rather than the previously popular jeans or pants. Women had simply disappeared from the streets of Kabul. According to an article by Axios, Afghanistan's economy has gone bonkers over the last year. The Afghani government budget for 2022 is down by 60% from its 2020 level. Prior to 2021, the country was reliant on foreign aid for 75% of the public spending. Sanctions on the Taliban have led many banks and other financial institutions outside of the country to restrict or block the processing of most transactions involving Afghan bank accounts. Basic household goods inflation is at 52% year on year, and per capita income is down to $375 per year, facing the lowest levels in over a decade. Nearly 20 million people face acute food insecurity, and tens of thousands are facing catastrophic levels of hunger. At least 1.1 million Afghan children are expected to suffer from the most severe form of malnutrition this year. Basically, the Taliban promised the world they had changed, especially on human rights. But after a year, the group's promises remain largely unfilled. Schools are still closed to most girls and young women after 6th grade. The reasons given for the ban are either religious or cultural. I personally think that the change has to come from within the Afghan people, and with time and collective action, things could improve in the future. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.